in the end, I'm going to show you my project in disaster areas all over the world. I started working in disaster area because I was disappointed on my own profession as architects, because mainly we are working for privileged people who has power and money. Because power and money is invisible, they hire us to make a monument to show off their power to the public. I'm not saying I'm not interested in making monument, but I was hoping to use my knowledge and experience not only for privilege, but also general public and even people who lost their houses by natural disasters. Especially after the big earthquake, I recognize that earthquake itself never kill people, but collapse of the building kill people. That's our responsibility as architects. However, after the big disaster, when we have to rebuild the city, we get more projects. However, before city are rebuilt, so many people are suffering with very poor living condition in evacuation facilities and temporary housing. I thought that is our responsibility as architects to improve those kind of living condition before city are rebuilt. That is why I start working in disaster area. Can I start slide, please? Can you go down that right? Yeah. As I was introduced, I studied at Cooper Union, New York, and I went back to Tokyo to start my own practice immediately after without having any experience. So that I was not designing a building, I was designing exhibition in the beginning. This is the first exhibition I designed for my favorite architect, Alba Aalto from Finland, 1986. I've been to Finland many times, and I want to design this exhibition like his architecture. However, because of my limited budget, and also I didn't, also I wanted to use the many wood like Alberto did, but I couldn't afford. But also I didn't want to waste such a precious material like wood for the temporary use, so that I was looking for material to replace wood, and I found the recycled paper chip, which was all over my studio. At that time, we are using facsimile paper with roll. When the roll of facsimile paper is over, always paper chip remain. Also, the tracing paper for sketching. Always, I hate throw things away. So I kept them to use for something else. So when I was looking for the material to replace, I saw this is a good material. So smaller diameter chip was used as the ceiling, like Alberto's B-Please library. Larger diameter was used for the freestanding partitions, and I found out this material is very strong, more than I expected. Next, please. This is like I started developing this idea 1985 before people talking about ecology, this sustainability, recycling, so on, and I tested to use this material for building structure. Next, please. 1990, I got the opportunity to design temporary exhibition hall, and I used this material paper tube for exterior interior walls. However, it was too difficult to get government permission to use such an unusual material for building structure. So this building structure is a steel columns and steel space frame, and the paper tube was used for exterior interior walls. There is 330 tubes. Diameter is a little bit less than 2 feet, and wall thickness is about three-quarter of an inch, and of course inside is empty. And some of the tube is bigger. Diameter is 4 feet. Inside is toilet. In case you finish your toilet paper and emergency situation, you can tear those inside the wall. Next, please. And because nobody asked me to design a house out of paper, so I had to make my own weekend house. And I spent 1 year testing, and finally I convinced government to get the permission. So this became first paper tube structure building as a permanent structure. This still exists, but I have no weekend, so still house is empty. Next, please. 2 years after, I was asked to design the roof for the local carpenter where they have very heavy snow, and they wanted to build by themselves instead of using steel structure. So this is the second structure with wooden joint. I get another permission from government to make this as a permanent building. This still exists. This was built 1995. Next, please. Then year 2000, people start talking about the environmental issues. This is Expo in city of Hanover in Germany. The main theme of Expo was environmental issue. Because I was only architect in Japan using recyclable material for building, I was chosen to design the Japanese pavilion. And I was very lucky to collaborate genius architect in Germany, Fry Otto, to collaborate to develop a grid shell structure in paper tube. Because the expo is only for half year, I didn't want to waste materials, so that this paper tube was produced local manufacturer. As a part of the contract, they have to promise us to collect all the paper tube after building demolished to recycle again. Or I didn't want to use a concrete foundation because concrete is not possible to recycle. I made a wooden box filled with sand instead of concrete. And the membrane, normally we use a PVC membrane, but the PVC is not environmental friendly. So I made the membrane out of paper. Because paper is an industrial material, we can waterproof or fire protected easily. So this is membrane out of paper. This yellow scaffolding, there is 1,000 of them, which can be rotated by hand, little by little, to push up the structure paper tube to create the three-dimensional shape to stabilize the structure. Next, please. So I covered over 25,000 square feet by paper tube structure. Connection is just fabric tape. It's very inexpensive, easy to dismantle. Next, please. This is a project called Nomadic Museum. The Canadian artist Gregory Cobell asked me to design his own museum, which traveled from city to city, country to country. And I decided to use shipping container of 20 feet. It's not because shipping container can be traveled. I chose shipping container as a structure because we can find same used container anywhere in the world because this is international standard. Here in New York, we rented the shipping container from nearby shipyard in New York. And then we went, after this exhibition, we went to Los Angeles, Santa Monica Beach, without bringing container, because we can rent same kind of used container locally in Los Angeles. In order to minimize number of container, I made a checkerboard pattern to be connected in the corner. There are the existing connections. Inside, there is the paper tube, 33 feet to support the roof. And Gregory's work was exhibited in between paper tubes. Next, please. Then we went to Santa Monica, Los Angeles. The parking lot we rented was not big enough to have the linear gallery. So we divided two of 100-meter gallery. And Gregory asked me to design additional theater space. So I kept the space in between and put new membrane roof to create a new theater space. So that the size of the museum becomes 50% bigger, but the number of containers is exactly the same from New York. This is the one in Tokyo. As you can see, the color of container is different. This is we happen to borrow in Tokyo. That's why color is different. Next, please. 2004, there is a big earthquake in Sumatra area, creating the tsunami to the surrounding countries, including this area, the south of Sri Lanka. All the fishermen's village in south of Sri Lanka were destroyed, and I went to there to make the reconstruction of the villages. And one of our sponsors asked me to design his own house after the project is over. This was built here. And every time I go to Sri Lanka, I was very amazed to find out there's a wonderful architect called Jeffrey Bauer. So every time I go to Sri Lanka for the disaster relief, I visited Jeffrey Bauer architecture all over Sri Lanka. I must say this house was totally influenced by Jeffrey Bauer. Using landscape and stepping up little by little, finally you arrive at the living room with a big so-called picture window. Normally, picture window is a small square window framing beautiful landscape like a painting. But I made a big picture window to frame the ocean view. Next, please. This is the house in Japan. It's rather a big house as a Japanese house. But unfortunately, there is no beautiful view around the site. So that I made a courtyard and the swimming pool. All the rooms are connected with the swimming pool and the courtyard. And because this client loves to swim very often, so this is a glass shutter, which is normally used for the fire station. And so that we just have to push button, go up immediately to connect inside outside. Even this family room, when glass shutter is open, the space connected with the inside outside. So all the rooms spaces are connected visually and physically connected inside outside. Next, please. This is the headquarters of the Swatch in Japan. Swatch is the Swiss watch company. This group, Swatch Group, own many brand names like Omega, Tissot, Jacquard, Blancpain, and so on. So upper 9 floors are their offices. Every 3 floors, they have 3-floor height atriums. Because I didn't want to air condition in the good seasons, at that time we just opened the glass shutter to take advantage of natural ventilations. This was competition, then this was not requested by client, but this was on my own theme that they want to have a 7 boutique of 7 different brand name here. This was built in Ginza, which is most expensive commercial land in the world and then in Japan. That's why the site is very narrow and very deep. And if we have one boutique in front of a commercial street, rest of the 6 boutique has to be the park, upstairs, downstairs. I thought that is very unfair not to have a direct commercial, not to have direct access from commercial street. So that what I did is opening 4 floors of the front and also back, and having a green wall and water feature, and to make the passage for public. So people are freely come into this passage, finding out there are 7 glass showroom of each brand names. Next, please. Each showroom are designed with hydraulic elevator, bringing your own customer to only your own boutique. This goes to here, this goes to there. So that because of this unusual solution, that I was very lucky to win this competition. This is the 5th floor, the customer service area. When glass shutter is open, this becomes semi-outdoor space. This is a true story about this giraffe. Just before the completion of the building, the president of the Swatch company came to see the construction. I showed her around. And when we came into this space, she was very surprised. She asked me where's the giraffe? And she misunderstood. During the competition, I submitted the drawing, in the section drawing. In order to show the height of this big space, I drew the giraffe, and she thought that is the final design. So she was very disappointed, and she was very mean. She said she doesn't want to accept the completion of the building unless she says a giraffe. So I had to spend my own money to make a giraffe out of wood and accept it as the completion of the building. Next, please. Next, please. This is the Oita Prefecture Museum in south of Japan. Normally, we call museum as a black box or white cubes because normally museum is a closed building. But I want to open the museum to the public and the street. So this I made the so-called bifolding door, opening the facade to connect to the inside the museum with the street. They often close the street to have many street events, so that inside of the museum can be having the related event inside with outside. This city is very famous for the bamboo craft. So I made a 3rd floor gallery as like the woven bamboo with a timber structure. Next, please. This is how the bifolding door open to connect inside outside. Ground floor gallery, the ceiling is hung from upstairs so that there are no pillars, and there's a movable partition to make a different arrangement of the walls depending on the type of decisions. And there is a third floor lobby, foyer, with the woven type of the wooden ceiling to bring natural light into the lobby space. Next, please. This is a famous Pompidou Center in Paris, designed by Richard Rogers and Lorenzo Piano. And this was built 1977. Year of 2003, they organized international competition to make a second Pompidou Center in the city of Metz, which is east side of France. And I was very lucky to win the competition. And I wanted to make my own office in Paris because I wanted, normally when we win the competition in a foreign country, you have to work with the local architects. But I found out often the local architects became our enemy. Instead of supporting us, they tend to be supporting the local client because if they listen to us, always we're going to make the out of budget, extend the construction period. So instead of the listening us, they always try to be side of the client to keep the budget and the construction period. I knew that kind of the situations. That is why instead of hiring local architect, I want to do the construction document and the construction supervision by myself, so that I want to make my own Paris office. But as you know, the renting office in Paris is very, very expensive. I couldn't afford. So when I met the president of Pompidou Center first time, I asked him, I want to then the rooftop or terrace in order to make my temporary office to save money. And he thought that's an interesting idea. When they have some important guests, that was the deal for me to show them around inside of my office, to show them what is the new design for the new Pompidou Center. So that was the deal, and I got this 7th floor terrace, and I brought my Japanese student to work with a French student during summer to build our own office with a paper tube structure. We spent 6 years because this was such a difficult construction, and I stayed there enjoying wonderful view of Paris without paying any rent. But there's one disadvantage. When my friend come to see me, because we are part of the exhibition, they had to buy ticket downstairs to see me. So after 6 years, they kicked me out, and they moved this office to the Pompidou Center Metz as a gallery. It still exists there. Next, please. This is a graphic material I submitted for competition. This is a map of the city of Metz. This is a central train station. It's 90 minutes by a speed train from Paris. The main part of the city is the north side of the train station, and our side was south side, which are totally empty. Also, we are away from the center of the city. This is very famous cathedral. They have the stained glass designed by Chagall. So I want to connect my museum, although we are away from the center of the city. So what I did is the following. This is the model I submitted. There are 3 so-called gallery tubes, 50 feet in width and the 330 feet in length. The 3 of them are stacking on top of each other, shifted 45 degrees. End of each gallery tube, there is a picture window framing the view. So the top of the tube is facing to the cathedral, framing cathedral as a picture window. Second tube is facing to the train station. Because Metz, city of Metz is the east side of the France, always after the war, they are occupied by German, and that's why there's so many wonderful classical German architecture all over the cities, including this train station. So this became part of important the history of the city. So that second tube is framing the train station. The roof I made in timber. Idea come from the traditional bamboo hut. I studied different patterns to make a geometry of the roof structure. Let's say if we divide by square, it's easy. But because square doesn't have an in-plane stiffness, it changes the shape so that we need a cross bracing, and the joint become very complicated. If we divide by triangles, it's very easy, very stable without any bracing. But as you can see, any connection, there are three elements is meeting, so the joint become complicated. Most of the bamboo craft has this pattern, hexagon and triangle. Also, hexagon doesn't have in-plane stiffness because of a triangle. The geometry is very stable without the cross bracing. As you can see, every connections, only two elements is meeting. That is why most of the bamboo craft, bamboo basket, bamboo hat use this pattern. So I made I made a timber roof out of this pattern, upper coat and lower coat, and instead of aligning the element, if we try to align the element, we need a connection mostly still complicated connections. But I didn't want to use any steel connection in order to take advantage of characteristic of the wood itself, so that instead of aligning, I overlap each other. And I kept the upper coat and lower coat with a piece of the wood, so that this one, we just need a long bolt to connect all the pieces to stabilize the geometry. So even this complicated shape can be made without any steel connections. Next, please. This is completion and picture windows. And before opening our, people waiting outside underneath the big roof is outside of the glass shutter. Next, please. After opening our, glass shutter open to connect inside outside. This is a picture window framing the cathedral. Central tower in steel for the elevator and the emergency stair, hanging the timber roof. So this is the tension structure, tensile structure. Next, please. While I was designing Pompidou Center, I got to the project in South Korea. I was asked to design golf club house. The chairman of this company loves my design of the timber roof for Pompidou Center, so he asked me to use the timber roof for his golf club house. This is a construction photos. All the timber element was produced in Switzerland. This 3D cutting machine technology only exists in Germany and Switzerland. It doesn't exist in Korea or Japan. So that this normally I like to use local material as much as possible, but this was request from the client, so that all the element was pre-cut in Switzerland, brought over to South Korea to assemble locally. And because I don't play golf, I didn't know what is inside the clubhouse. But only my memory, when I was very small, my father used to take me to the golf practicing range. I remember we put the ball on the wooden tee. Now it's made in plastic, so that I made the structure like a wooden tee. Next, please. Same client asked me to design the employment training center on same campus. And the main function is auditorium. Big auditorium, maybe 3 times bigger than this, but it's a black box. I didn't want to put black box in such a beautiful landscape, so I put this auditorium underground. But I didn't want to feel like being underground. So this is the foyer of the auditorium with 3 columns and the glass roof with water. So that we get the natural light through the water. The water can be moved to have a nice moving skylight through the water. Every tree comes, there is stainless pot with mud to grow the trees, so that the landscape of the roof of the auditorium is extended to the pond. Next, please. This is a 7-story office building in Zurich, Switzerland. In Europe, there is a very good the regulation to fire protect timber by timber itself. It's called oversizing. By testing, the extra 1-inch thickness works for the half-hour fire protection, and inch and 3/4 of inch work for the 1 hour fire protection. So that this is the 1 hour fire protected building with oversizing of the wood itself. Again, I didn't want to use steel connections in order to make a rigid joint. So this is the joint I designed, the timber column with 2 layers of the beams, and the perpendicular beam, the profile is oval. Oval profile beam is inserted, so that's why it doesn't rotate, so that I can make very simple rigid connection without any steel. Next, please. Exterior is a standard curtain wall where you see the horizontal line. It's a glass shutter, which can be totally open to make a outdoor, indoor space, in between spaces. Next, please. This good, the fire regulation exists in Switzerland, Germany, in France. Oversizing doesn't exist in Japan. It's very disadvantage. We cannot make such a building, like a 7-story building in timber, without covering the timber by plasterboard or cement. But I didn't want to do that. So I made a hybrid structure because of this bad regulation. So this is a concrete. Normally, when we make a concrete columns or floor, we make a foam out of wood. Then when the concrete is dry, we remove them to finish with different materials. Instead of removing wooden concrete foam, I kept it as a finish. So this is the concrete foam made by CLT, and we put concrete, and so that these are the concrete foam remain as a finish, even floor. Also, this CLT, the formwork reinforce the concrete column for the blending, so that this is a hybrid structure between wood and the timber. Also, because of the CLT floor as a concrete form and finish, we don't need many support. Even before concrete is dry, we can start working underneath because of the strength of the CLT floor. Next, please. This is a project called La Seine Musical. This is the concert hall, auditorium in Paris. This is Seine River, and this is island. This used to be Renault factory, and in the end of the 80s, they moved to out of Paris, and it's become empty. And Jean Nebel made a master plan, and the first competition was held for the Mr. Pino to make a Pino Foundation. And Tadao Ando won the competition. After the construction started, Mr. Pino had some problem with the French government, and he disappointed, and he canceled the project to move all his collection to the Venice. And then the local government made another competition to make a theater complex, and I was very lucky to win. And my first job was removing the concrete pile made by Tadao Ando. So that was start of this project. And the local government asked competitors to make some symbolic form, because this is this location is kind of intersection of many highways. So they wanted to make some symbolic form. So I made the kind of egg shape in timber structure covered by glass. And this is a sail. Instead of receiving wind pressure, this receives the sun to generate energy, but also it's rotate following the sun. So that always this is facing the sun directly to efficiently generate the electricity, also creating a shading behind to save the air conditioning effect. So that the building is, depending on the time of the day, the shape of the building changed. Next, please. This is a foyer. I made a new, I made the mosaic tile in a factory in Vicenza. This tile changed the color depending on the angle of the sun from red to green. You can see the back of the timber structure. This is the inside of the concert hall. I will collaborate with a very good acoustical engineer to make this ceiling out of paper tube, different diameter of paper tube to create this acoustically good ceiling. Next, please. This is the headquarters of Swatch and Omega, and again, this was competition. Because of the site was L-shaped, and also the design of the Omega Swatch is rather playful and colorful. So I made an organic shape in timber with solar panels, ETFE, air cushion membrane, which cover the public street. Next, please. As I said, this roof, timber roof, is covering public street, and the reaching to the next door I designed as a conference hall roof. And often they close the street to have a street event under the big roof. Next, please. This is a construction photo. Using this very advanced timber cutting machine in Switzerland, each pieces are precisely cut. So just they need a big rubber hammer to fit them very easily and quietly. The construction speed was very good, very speedy. And this is inside of the office and the inside of a foyer space. Next, please. The building in front, only the ground floor pilotis is made in concrete. Above 4 floors is timber beam, timber column, and timber floor. And this is the roof coming from a Swatch building as a conference hall. Next, please. This is a museum in Tainan City in south of Taiwan. The symbol flower of this city was a pentagon. So I made a pentagon roof, which is this is called a fractal roof. Each gallery are stacked on top of each other and shifted to create the sculpture garden and some natural garden, so that the people can climb up to the roof garden freely to come into the museum from any levels. Next, please. This is the diagram showing what is fractal geometry is. Let's say this is a triangle fractal geometry. By dividing, they can get the same proportion of triangle forever. So this is called fractal geometry. Professor Sakai of Kyoto University found out by making three-dimensional fractal geometry object with penetrated by putting the wind. This creates some movement of air. So he made some small pagoda in the park. So I collaborated with him to make a big fractal roof. Because this is the testing computer simulation. Let's say the building is facing to the sun directly. The exterior temperature become, let's say, the 60 degree. I don't know the Fahrenheit. It's very hot. If we have a roof, we can save 10% of the electricity of air conditioning, but still roof create the radiations. Having fractal roof, it's like being underneath of big trees because the leaves make the movement of air. That's why it's very cool being underneath of a tree. So that by computer simulation, we found out we can save 50% of cooling effect by having fractal roof. So that I put the fractal roof, having light and shadow through the fractal roof. Next, please. This is a museum in Hiroshima, facing to the ocean. Hiroshima has many the shipbuilding companies. I collaborate with the shipbuilding company to make this museum. This is movable floating gallery. Each gallery, 8 of them are made on the barge, made by a shipyard company, and made in the shipyard and brought over by ship to put in by crane. This water, next please, we can add the water, and then this can be floated. Normally, they are sitting on the bottom of the pond, but by adding water, this can be floated, and 2 men can push them to change the location of the gallery. Depending on the type of the exhibitions, we can change the layout of the galleries easily by also putting this the movable bridge to connect them. And this is the entrance foyer with a timber structure, and there are 10 villa to stay over. Next, please. This is the most recent project for the Osaka Expo. This is called the Blue Ocean Dome. I made 3 domes with 3 different materials. Because the site is reclaimed land, it's very weak. So that even temporary structure, they have to put the concrete pile. And after the expo is over 6 months, they have to remove them. So that they have to waste the concrete piles. So that I wanted to make the structure without the piles by making the building very light. There are three different materials. The first one is made of laminated bamboo. Bamboo is much stronger than wood. However, by using tubular bamboo, the diameter is different, wall thickness different, so that we cannot calculate structure to get permission. So I laminate it to make a structure. And the second one, the third one is made of paper tube with a wooden joint. The second biggest one is made of carbon fibers. As you know, the carbon fiber is now often used for the airplane and the automobile in order to make the airplane and the car lighter. But normally we don't need to make a building lighter. But as I said, this island is very, the condition is very, the ground condition is very weak, so that by the weight of the building is lighter than the weight of the soil we remove with foundation. That's why we don't need any concrete piles. And also, after expo is over, we disassemble and move to the one of my project in Maldives to make a hotel facility out of these three domes, so that we can reuse all the building. It's much because it's lightweight. It's easy to transport. Next, please. Now we go to the disaster areas. 1994, in Rwanda, East Africa, they have the genocide. Two tribes, Tutsi and Hutu, fight each other and made the 2 million people of the refugees in surrounding countries. This is the refugee camps made by United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. And I was very surprised to see this photo, people freezing with blanket. During the rainy season, the area became very cold, and this was not good enough to keep them warm. I thought that we have to improve the shelter, otherwise any medical care doesn't help them. So I wrote a letter to United Nations, but I got no reply. So I had to go there to the Geneva headquarters of United Nations without any appointment. But I was very lucky to meet a German architect who was responsible for shelter construction, and I was hired as a consultant because of following reason. That time, this is a typical refugee shelter made by United Nations. Refugees have to cut the trees by themselves to put the plastic sheet given by United Nations. This used to be the forest, but all the trees are gone. So this became very serious deforestation and the environmental problem. So that the United Nations started providing them aluminum pipes. But aluminum was very expensive material locally. Refugees sold them out for money. Then they go much further to cut more trees, so that providing aluminum pipe didn't solve the problem. So that was the timing when I proposed my idea of using recycled paper tube. And also I knew that even the Rwanda, they have paper tube factory locally. Next, please. This is the three different prototypes I made with the support of the Bitola. Bitola is a very famous furniture company in Switzerland. This white building and the furniture museum and factory was designed by Frank Gehry. Behind this factory, there's a seminar house designed by Tadao Ando. Further right, they have their own. They have another factory designed by Nicolas Grimshaw, Alvaro Siza. Also, they have their own fire station made by Zaha Hadid. So this company has the most expensive collection of architecture, and my prototype became the cheapest collection. This is a Bimba camp, and I went to there to put up paper tube shelter. Also, I want to make something more comfortable. However, because of the United Nations policy, we are not supposed to give them something too comfortable, because if the shelter is very comfortable, they're going to stay there longer. The United Nations wanted them to go back to home as soon as possible, so that I got only 50 US dollar per unit. So this is a project to stop the deforestation. Next, please. Next year, 1995, in city of Kobe, Japan, we had a big earthquake. Over 8,000 people killed. Also, there big fire. And I read on the newspaper, there's many Vietnamese refugees gathering at the Catholic Church. And I thought that the refugees must have a more difficult time than the normal Japanese victims. So I went to see them, and all the city was burned. This church lost the building and having morning service outside around the fire. And after the morning service, I proposed to the priest, why don't we rebuild the simple paper chip temporary church? And he thought I'm crazy proposing the making building out of paper after the fire. But I didn't give up. So every Sunday I committed from Tokyo to Kobe to meet to join the morning service next priest. And I got to know the Vietnamese people, and I was invited. They are living in the park like this condition with a blue plastic sheet. In rainy days, inside get totally wet, and over and fine days, inside get very high temperature. It's very unhealthy situation. Although the government started making temporary housing, but Kobe is very congested. All the temporary house was built outside of the city. Those Vietnamese people had only job in particular area, working for particular factory. So if they move out from the city, they cannot continue commuting to the factory, so that they want to keep living here. However, Japanese neighbor people try to kick them out because they are afraid park is becoming like a slum. But they have no place to go, so that I decided to make a temporary houses for them with my student. This is the paper tube of 4 inch, and the foundation is made of beer crates. That time in Japan, there are two major beer company called Kirin and Asahi. They are competing. I asked Kirin because Asahi made the beer crate red, which doesn't go with color of the paper tube. And the day we are receiving a beer crate, we thought Kirin is a very generous company. They're going to donate beer inside of the beer crate, but it's totally empty. We receive a lot of empty beer crate. We're very disappointed. I work with a structural engineer. We put the sandbag inside the beer crate to stand for the typhoon and the hurricane. And the membrane is made a double membrane ceiling and the roof to have a natural ventilation in the summer. The inside is like this. People, they are living here for 4 years. Next, please. Then the priest trusted me to build a temporary church. It's a small rectangular site with a paper tube, everything built by student. And inside is oval shape, which come from one of my favorite chart designed by Bernini in Rome. And they thought they can use this temporary church for a few years, but this was there for 10 years. This became community center for the community to have a wedding, concert, movie, and many meetings, so that this became a very important symbol. So they decided to keep for 10 years. After 10 years, they decided to rebuild. I was very lucky to design. Also, there's a big earthquake in Taiwan. We decided to donate this mantle to send over, next please, to send over to Taiwan in this village called Piri to rebuild this church as a permanent community center and church. This still exists in Piri. And then I wonder, what is the definition of the temporary structure? What is the definition of the permanent structure? As you can see in San Francisco or Los Angeles, Tokyo, anywhere, many of the concrete commercial buildings disappear suddenly because other developer buy the land, destroy existing building to put new one. Even building made in concrete, if building was made to make money, they are very temporary. However, even the building made by a student with paper tube, this can be permanent as long as the people love it. That is my definition of what is temporary and what is permanent. Next, please. 1999 in Turkey, they had a big earthquake, and I was asked to make a temporary houses. All the paper tube and plastic beer crate was donated free from a local manufacturer, and children help us to put waste paper inside the paper tube to make wall more insulated. Next, please. 2001, in India, Gujarat, they had the big earthquake, and I was invited to make a temporary houses. And most of our material, including paper tube, was locally available. Only material I couldn't get is beer crate because nobody drink beer locally. And my local Indian architect recommended me to use red Coca-Cola crate. but I thought this red Coca-Cola crate doesn't fit into the context. So that I made a traditional mat floor and the foundation to make houses and also some schools. This is a photo I received from local architect last year. This still exists, used as a local clinic. Next, please. 2008, 2 months before Beijing Olympic, there had big earthquake in the city of the Chengdu, and over 25,000 people killed. Even many children killed, collapse of the schools. And although I started preparing temporary houses, but the local government didn't want any foreigner to make temporary houses. But I met the schoolmaster. She asked me to design a temporary classroom. So I brought my Japanese student to work with local Chinese students together for 5 weeks to make the 9 classroom over 5,000 square feet. This is a structure made of locally available paper tube and the wooden joint to structure like this by student. Next, please. 2009, L'Aquila, the east of the Rome in Italy. There are the big earthquakes. And this is former Prime Minister, Mr. Berlusconi. And he decided to bring G8 summit. That time, Russia was part of the summit, not G7. And originally, he wanted to bring G8 summit to the island he owned, but because of the earthquake, he decided to bring G8 summit to the L'Aquila. And immediately after the earthquake, I visited the mayor, and he asked me to design temporary concert hall, auditorium, because this city is very famous for music. They have their own Philharmonic Orchestra, School of Music, but no place to play. So I started designing, and I got the support from a Japanese embassy in Rome to organize the conference with the Prime Minister of Italy and Prime Minister of Japan, and showing my model. And Mr. Berlusconi doesn't know what he's holding. It's the paper tube we use for the building. And because of this successful press conference, we got €500,000 to design temporary concert hall. Because it's a temporary, also this has to be very good acoustic, insulated for the acoustic, but I didn't want to use concrete. So this is the scaffolding frame filled with the sandbag to make a very thick, acoustically insulated wall, just covered by donated red curtain. And the inside of the paper tube is not structured. This is, I work with an acoustical engineer to have a different diameter to have good acoustical conditions. Exterior paper tube is the structure. This is still used and loved by the student in the L'Aquila Music School. Next, please. 2010, Haiti. This is island. You know that right half is Dominican Republic, left half is Haiti. Port-au-Prince, capital, was destroyed by earthquake. Because all the airport, the port was closed, I have to fly over Santo Domingo, capital of the Dominican Republic. Drove over 7 hours, finding out situation like this. Because I couldn't get any material locally, I made a team with a Santo Domingo University student to prepare the paper tube shelter and brought over to ask the local people to assemble by themselves. Next, please. 2001, north side of Japan, Fukushima, and that area, we had big earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear problems. And this is a typical evacuation facility in gymnasium. The government doesn't care the privacy, but I believe the privacy is most basic human right, but the government doesn't care. After the Niigata earthquake, 2004, I started working with a student to provide partition systems. But always government said it's easier to control people without partition. They never accepted. But in 2011, I tried again with my student and went to many facilities, but I was rejected. But little by little, this facility was not controlled by the government official, because by tsunami, local the city hall was destroyed and killed the mayor and the city officials. So this gymnasium was operated by the physics professor. So he was very kind to accept our petition. So that we built a 500 family unit in 1 week with a paper tube, small diameter tube just inserted, hanging curtain with a safety pin, and we can divide. We can provide the different sizes depending on the sizes of families. We went to 80 facilities. First 30 facilities rejected us, and little by little they accepted. And within 3 months, we built 2,000 units. This photo was taken 2020 during the pandemic. And no, south of Japan, Kumamoto City, they had big flooding, and they had to make the evacuation facility. And the doctor said that having this partition is very good to stop spreading COVID viruses. So that finally, Japanese government accepted this partition system as a standard partition system for the evacuation facilities. Next, please. After they spent 4 months in the evacuation facilities, they moved to the prefab temporary housing made by government. It's very uncomfortable. The very tight to each other so that they cannot open the windows, leaking, and the no storage, and also the most of the areas they didn't have enough flat empty space to make government standard single-story prefab house. So that within 1 month, I designed 3-story high apartment with a shipping container with checkerboard pattern. Inside of the container, there is a bathroom unit and a bedroom in between. Next, please. So that one of the city called Onagawa accepted my proposal because they have only one baseball ground for 190 family, which is not big enough for the single-story prefab house. So they accepted my proposal. Just the steel plate, no concrete foundation, stacking the 40 feet container checkerboard pattern. And all the furniture was made by my student. This is the inside. But I created a new problem. Normally they can stay there for 4 months, but nobody want to move out because it's comfortable. So that they stay there for 8 years. Next, please. Next, please. 2 weeks before the earthquake in Japan, there's a big earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand. And most important cathedral was destroyed by earthquake. And I got the email from one of the priests. He asked me that you must be the architect who can design temporary church without any the design fee. I said that if the temporary church is used not only for religious service but community services, I'm happy to do it. Also, I was busy commuting the north of Japan after the earthquake. I also commuted to New Zealand. First thing I did is analyzing geometry of existing cathedral, finding out the golden section, other geometrical rule to apply to the new design. Next, please. So this is what we built with a paper chip locally available, with shipping container on the ground floor as offices, and here's the bishop. She's the most important the person. She was really pleased with this space, but only the thing end of the construction we had some fight problem. I tried to make a cross out of paper tube, but she thought it's very cheap. But I tried to convince her. In Japanese, paper, in Japanese we call kami, which means by accident, God. So I told her that making the cross out of paper is very good because it's made God. And she believed me, and she accepted to make the cross out of paper too. Next, please. This still exists as a tourist destination also. 2014, there's a big earthquake and typhoon at the Cebu Island in Philippines. In Philippines, they have the beer company called San Miguel, but they are so difficult. They rejected our request to donate the beer crate, so that finally I had to accept the Coca-Cola crates. Next, please. 2015, next one. In Nepal, they had big earthquake. Most of the building is made by brick. But I didn't, so after the brick is not very good for the earthquake, but I didn't want to waste rubber of the brick. So that this is the test I did in the university in Japan to use the brick with a wooden frame to meet the Japanese earthquake standard to build the houses and also school with stone inside. Next, please. 2 years ago, 2023, I was very busy making temporary house all over the world. One in Turkey in February near Syrian border. This is a paper tube local, temporary house built with local student. In Marrakesh and Morocco, also we built the same house locally with paper tube with student. And it's in Hawaii, in Lahaina, in Maui Island. They had a big fire. And I went to there with my student to work with Hawaii University student to build temporary houses. This house was also made in north of Japan, near Kanazawa, in Noto Peninsula, 2 years ago. But this earthquake was not as heavy as the one we had last January 1st. So that time we made one temporary house with the same structure with student, and this house was not destroyed. But the last year, February 1st, big earthquake hit this same area and destroyed. And this house is destroyed and laying down on my paper house, but my paper house has no damage. Next, please. Because of this, we keep building this as a temporary house and also temporary studio for the local craftsman. Next, please. And so that this temporary house is used for the lacquer craftsmanship and some barber shop. Also, we are collecting the roof tiles because this particular area has very beautiful and very durable roof tile, but there are no more manufacturer making the roof tile. So that I make a team with my student to collect the roof tile to reuse for the reconstruction of the houses. Even this community center we built with the roof tile collected from the destroyed house. Next, please. Also, we made a temporary house which can be used as a permanent house in timber. This is the technology called DLT, not CLT. CLT is cross-laminated timber, but this is DLT, stand for Dow laminated timber. This normally make a CLT, we glue the timber to make a big plate, but in the factory. But this DLT, we don't need any glue. We just hammer down the wooden dowel to connect them. And we can make easily the finger joint by shifting to connect them to make the box to stack like a checkerboard pattern again to make houses like this. This house is cost exactly same with government to make the prefab house, but it's more comfortable. That government temporary house can be used only 2 years and then destroy them to make rubbish, the garbages, but this can be used as a permanent house at the same price. Next, please. This is the last project for the support for the Ukraine. As you remember, 3 years ago, February 23, Russia invaded Ukraine, created a lot of refugees. Over 5 million people became refugees coming to Poland and other surrounding countries. The situation is just like after the earthquake in Japan, they stay in gymnasium, no privacy. So we went to this is my NGO, Voluntary Architects, stand for Voluntary Architect, like my name, Ban. And we provided with my student to provide the partition all over the Poland, Ukraine, Slovakia, Paris, and Berlin. Next, please. Also, Russia attacked the power station. I found the very lightweight stove, which you can cook on top with firewood, and very lightweight. And we provide them 200 stoves. So he's very happy receiving my stove, but he's injured, but also his house was burned by the attack from Russia. Next, please. Also, I'm working with the university in Poland to prepare affordable housing. After the disaster, either natural disaster or man-made disaster, or general contractor become very busy, and the building material become very expensive. So that I prepared affordable housing with the student without using normal building cost materials. This is styrofoam. We just put the glass fiber, paint the plastic. This is glass fiber reinforced plastic. This is very traditional technology to make middle-sized boat or even surfboard. is made by same technology. So nothing new. Just I apply this technology to make a modular the structural system. So it's very lightweight but very strong, waterproof. And after we prepared with students in the factory without any machine, we just assembled in the city of Lviv in the west side of the Ukraine, built by a student in one day. Next, please. This last slide. This is the mayor of the city of Lviv. Because city of Lviv is the west side of Ukraine, it's rather safe. That's why there are many injured people from war coming to the hospital. That's why the hospitals are over capacity. So mayor decided to make more hospital. I was asked to make the hospital of 250 thousand square feet in timber. The CLT and the laminated timber is made. They have the biggest factory in East Europe. Used to export to Canada and the US, but now they cannot export. So that's why mayor want to make a building hospital out of timber. But according to the Ukrainian building regulation, it's just like Japan. Such a size of the building cannot be built with the timber without covering. But as you know, the Ukrainians want to be part of the EU, so that the mayor asked me to design a hospital with a locally available CLT and laminated timber using EU building regulation. Like I made one in Switzerland, so that we can make such a building with EU building regulation. So this is a very important project for Ukraine. This is going to be first building a hospital in timber made by the EU building regulations. So I'm hoping to continue building to be loved by people. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you about these ideas. One from our conversation earlier, where you said you were uninterested in style, and so you are trying to create systems. And then as I see your relief work, I start to see conceptually as a system. Do you think of your relief work in a similar way as you think about paper tubes or wooden construction?
Well, anything available locally. So I have to go there to find out what is locally available, and even climate conditions are different. So I will have to go there to adjust the system using local materials.
And well, the magnitude of the people that you're helping is immense. I trying to do a running calculation of how many people you are housed or helped.
No, actually, that it's not such a big amount, because the majority of the people has to be helped by government or UN organizations. But always there are small community left over from these big organizations. So I always try to find a small community which was left over to solve their problem with our assistant. So that I'm not really serving for the big amount of people, but try to find the leftover small communities.
When you start looking at new materials, how do you start to think of new structural systems? Is it the engineer that you work with? Are you trying to think of new ways like the Pompidou Metz to put it together? What is the driver of your process that you start to think of them?
I design structure by myself. I collaborate with the engineers, but I work with different type of engineer depending on type of the structure. But first, I design everything by myself to propose them. So I'm not looking for the proposal from engineer, but I always work with very good engineer to realize my idea. So it's very important for me to design the structural system and the using any material available, because the durability of the building And strength of building has nothing to do with strength of the material. So that even theoretically, I knew the paper tube or tested, it's weaker. It's a half of wood, but still, we can make the durable building with a weak paper tube. I try to use the humble material as way it is.
Is there a material expression that eludes you or has not yet happened that you want to work with, make paper bigger or do something else?
Well, actually, the paper tube is an industrial material. We can make stronger paper tube by changing glue, but I'm not interested in making stronger material. As I said, I'm interested in existing material to use the weakness or humbleness as way it is.
Is there a new challenge that you're looking for in expressing your architecture?
Well, as I showed you some the expo pavilions, I'm now interested in moving building or movable building, or instead of insulated too much, I want to change the skin of the building, like the human body. We change the clothes in the summer and the winter, so that I made some the prototype of the house with a membrane with a zipper. So you can change the skin depending on the season. Also, if you get bored with your design, you can change further easily. So that I'm very interested in making the movable or changeable lightweight structure. Normally, building can be very heavy.
I was struck by your comment about kind of what is permanent and what is temporary, and how you were talking about it maybe in relationship to love or in relationship to the people that you say. I know the world is kind of very chaotic at the moment, and so maybe in a moment of optimism, can you talk about how you see people and love in your buildings?
That's a difficult question. But the optimistic things that I like to say that the change of the mind of the young architect and student are very different. When I was a student, we didn't have to think about environment issues, but now it's very serious. So that I hate wasting materials. Now the students are without teaching, they are very serious about environmental issues. So that, and also that they are very keen for the disaster. So that wherever the disaster happens, I just contact local university professor, and the student is really happy to support us. So that now the attitude of a student are really different from when I was a student. So I think they are more social oriented. So I'm quite optimistic for the young student.
That's great. You have maybe time for a few questions?
Yes, of course.
So maybe we can do a few questions from the audience.
Thank you so very much. Very impressive. All the work I did with materials and also donating the time select. So maybe you must follow my fortune to do it. I'm very excited about the dog paper. I think your material. What can you do for what are you appreciate? What helps?
The paper tube in the United States is called sonotube. It's made by, there are many companies make, but the big company called Sonoco. This is made for the concrete forms. When we make a round column, we use a paper tube. So the company make a very strong waterproof inside outside, so that I'm using existing material and just specify the lengths and thickness and diameters. But otherwise, they use the different waterproofing, like polyurethane or other things, to protect very strongly. And the weakest point of the paper tube for the water is cut edge, not surface. When I made the temporary house for the Vietnamese refugee in Kobe, I gave the paint. So I recommend them to repaint every half year. But they are so lazy; they didn't repaint for 4 years, but it was no problem. So the waterproofing is rather easy, but I have to very carefully design the detail, not to bringing in the water to the edge of the paper tube.
Or it's for young architect, especially if it's
What to do? What?
with dirt, vice versa.
Right. Well, the most important thing is traveling all over the world to see great architectures, landscape, to meet a different culture. Because if you want to be a good chef, you have to eat good food. So that for to be a good architect, I think we are not only architect, but I think traveling is most important education for the young student, I believe.
It's, it's the book. So how that as well, but the concept seems super innovative to me. How you 50% of AIDS, gosh, that's a lot. Like right now, we're talking about environmental issues. A lot of communities are suffering from like the rising temperature. So that practical like spread, how does that work? What material can it be replicated?
Actually, it's not material. It's a way of the geometry that are penetrated and moving there, like just the leaves. Leaves like a fractal geometry, moving air, creating without having the the the, the heat. No, actually, I told you that I collaborated with a professor, one of the professors of Mr. Kyoto University. He found out the movement there having small pagoda in the park. So he made many small structures out of this idea. So actually, this is not my innovation. So that innovation of Mr. Professor Sakai. So that if you need that, you can check his the thesis. Yeah,
That's way back there.
That word out or how to paint in the building, you know, they are for advanced God. In studying that part, they are teaching us your column, how that's studying on how to go about that.
that means so.
So, in changing the skin of the building,
Yes.
are you looking at the metabolists for inspiration?
No, not at all. That because metabolism is the one. It's interesting idea, but the the lifespan of the building was different from lifespan of the infrastructure. That's why none of the metabolism building was extended or renewed. So that the theory was very interesting, but this theory was not realistic because of the difference life cycle of the structure and the infrastructure. So that my idea is not just the extension of the building, but the moving or changing the skin. But because now because in the environmental regulations, we have to make a house more insulated more and more. Even I was very amazed at the surprise that Switzerland has such a strict building regulation for insulation. Also, we designed the insulation for the hottest summer, but nobody working in that period. But we waste so much material to make buildings so too much insulated for the worst case or when nobody is working. So that instead was making the building so insulated for the worst case, I thought it's much nicer to have more natural ventilations, like creating shading, open or close, and so the idea is not related to the metabolism at all.
of all the disaster relief works that you have done, but given that the paper tube has been is a problem throughout the, is there one place that you will say, no, it's not going to work there?
This one place,
One location where you found that a paper tube not done.
paper tube not.
So is there some environment where paper tube doesn't work? Disaster.
Actually, I had a very interesting experience in Turkey in 1999. When I was preparing the paper tube log house, the local architects, she was very supportive, but she told me, maybe because the Japanese people used to live wooden house, that's why being inside of the paper log house is being like a wooden house. So that's why maybe for Japanese people feel very comfortable being in the paper house. But we, the Turkish people, live in the concrete brick house. So that she thought the people won't be comfortable being the paper log house. But the result are totally different because of the experience, bad experience of the earthquake. Even the people, their house was not totally destroyed. They stay their house in the daytime, but they sleep in the tent in the evening because of the bad experience. They are afraid staying in the concrete masonry house. So that when they moved to my paper house, they felt very comfortable and safe because of the lightweight structure. So that also that the preconcept of the lifestyle was unexpected, but the result was different after they experienced the earthquake.
Perhaps one last question.
So, I work here.
Curious what?
Yeah, I can hear you, so I'll repeat it. She's curious about domes.
Storm.
What's dome? I can.
Uh, I've been researching stone and I'm curious. There is any place for materials like stone, concrete, and the kind of work that you do, or is think like people are one are reliable. Let's see.
So you think this the like a big storm, typhoon?
That the climate, the environment in Armenia only has stone and concrete and not wood. So do you think that stone and concrete can be used?
Well, it can be used, but the because I work with the student without any heavy machines, we can use any locally available material. But I prefer to use some lightweight material, even the mud but not concrete. Concrete is it's a quite difficult material to control the quality, and you need a replacement, the reinforced steel. So I don't think the concrete is appropriate for the temporary use. So I rather not to use the concrete, but the brick. I use the rubber of the brick from destroyed building to be filled inside the wooden frame. But even we can make a house out of the plastic or anything available locally. But I prefer not to use heavy material.
Fantastic. Once again, let's thank Shigeru Ban.
Thank you.